Good evening.
Hello.
How is it going? How's everyone doing? Good evening. Welcome to Smash Grapes. Try before you buy.
Cheers.
Cheers. You'll see we're in our brand new home, our new location here. This is our lovely. Oh, this is too loud. Wrong one. Sorry. This is our lovely studio. So we're going to be coming here live every month. You'll see a lot of video footage coming out as well. We've got lots of vlogs, blogs, all kinds of stuff that's going to be.
It's looking all right, you know. You've done a good job. You know your way around a drill.
I do. I know my way around. Know my way around a bit of pointing, a bit of brickwork. You know, there we go.
Lovely pointing.
Yes,
Lovely
that's
brick.
it. That's it. Well, as you'll have seen before we started, we've got, and it's in your boxes. We've got a competition running for you this month. What we'd like you to do, please, doesn't have to be your box, doesn't have to be the pouches, but we'd love to get a picture of you taking part in tonight's Try Before You Buy.
Your Friday night setup.
Exactly. You can take videos, you can do pictures. Get on Instagram or Facebook, whichever one you use, and do a post for us. Not a story, those disappear. The evidence is lost. Evidence is lost on a story.
We want evidence.
Do a wall post. We want the evidence, please. Post, tag at Smash Grapes UK, and make sure you use the hashtag TBYB. Try before you buy. TBYB.
Oh, is that what it is?
That's what it is. That's what it is. And then not only will you feature on this lovely little wall behind us here, and we'll call those out, and you know I could bring them up on screen as well. I know you can't see the
technology at
can't
his
see
fingertips.
can't see it behind. You know, we are working on the brightness of screens and things. They do appear fairly quickly. Sarah Dinmore there has just appeared.
Thank you, Sarah.
So yeah, wall posts, please. Wall posts, not stories. Right. So if you haven't done a Smash Grapes Try Before You Buy tasting before, there's no messing around. Get yourself wine number one poured and in your glasses. So for those of you that haven't done it, we start with the white wines first. So it is the yellow label, which is this one here. The yellow labeled white wine, yellow, white wine number one. Wine one, get that in your glass, have a little drink. There we go. Right, so before we get going properly, I've done the competition. Yes, cards. Right, so in the box, we get a lot of questions about these. There's some info cards in here. Now, you do have in that box 6 entire glasses of wine, which adds up to an entire bottle. So, tomorrow morning, you might be feeling a little bit fuzzy and going, oh, I can't remember which one was which. That's where these bad boys come in. So these cards tell you the 6 wines in order, and you know, go through what we are drinking this evening. So we think it's better if you open them at the end. You know, leave it as a surprise. But that's what that little envelope is. So keep hold of that until the end.
There's also a link in there, isn't there, to the collection on the website?
There is, yes. There's a 7th card in there that you can link through to the collection on the website. But it will also be emailed out at the end of this.
9:30, automatically.
Automatically. 9:30, the email of the 6 wines is going to land in your inboxes. And for taking part tonight, you have, of course, got a £10 voucher to come and use at the Smash Grapes online store.
They should already have them.
You should already have them. So those are now sent to your email address. The one that you purchased your Try Before You Buy pack with. It'll be sat in your inbox, and it's a little code that you use at checkout to give you £10 off. Not just the wines for tonight. You can use them on any wines in the store. So there you go.
All bases covered?
All bases covered. I believe all bases covered. No, one more base to cover. As well as our Instagram and Facebook competition we've got running at the minute. We also use Slido. There's a few of you on there already. Yes, there's a few of you asking questions. You've shown the wines already. We have. They're on the table, but you know you didn't pay that much attention. You can join the Q&A here. You can use the chat thread on YouTube. We do launch a couple of different polls and things through the evening, so do head over to slido.com and use the event code SG Wine Tasting, or you can scan that QR code that is currently on screen Hello, James and Becky, evening. There we go. We've got quite a few...
couple of anonymous.
Couple of anonymous, that's fine, you can stay
anonymous.
Couple
of people worried about how it's going to turn out later.
We've got Ellie, Roger and Chris in the YouTube chat as well.
Hello,
so
guys.
yes, look, these things are so much better when there's some interaction. So use the chat, whichever one you want to use, YouTube, Slido, whatever. You know, send
shout
us,
out of a window.
Yeah, just shout, just yell. We'll try and hear. But yeah, that's it. Right, so wine number one, white wine number one. Get it in your glass.
Who's drunk it already?
It's gone. Some people have drunk it already. Evening, it's gone. Right, so get it in the glass, and I'm going to just launch this now. We're just going to ask you what kind of things you're tasting. So this is not, this is not for us to tell you what you should or shouldn't be tasting or what you're going to get. There's no essence of decaying forest floor here, or you can get some of that, or it is all it's all subjective. What things are you tasting?
Whatever comes
here?
to mind.
Jason's asked if there's any Russian wines. No, not
no Russian
tonight.
wines. They've been strictly banned.
Yep.
Strictly banned.
Melon. We're getting melon there.
Doesn't have to be flavours either, guys. It can just be like, what you think, opinions, what you think it is. If you want to have a cracking guess.
Sharp. We're getting sharp. Yeah. Nice with salmon.
Oh, straight in there.
Nice. Melon. And as you can see, the more a word is used, the bigger it gets on the screen here. Apple and melon winning the charge. Grapes, yeah, definitely get grapes in there. Floral
is actually a grapey wine.
Cherry blossom. We don't get that one very often.
Oh, we've got some highbrows in tonight.
Oh God, we've got a few people who've we've got a couple of trained palates in this evening. Right, let's have a little go. What are we thinking there? I'm getting. I'm
pretty on the mark.
Yeah, we had this one last week as well at an event we were doing. Definitely, I think I preferred it last week, but
okay,
it's nice.
Should we start?
Let's do it.
Okay,
let's do it.
Right.
What are we doing? What's in white wine number one? Sam?
Okay, white wine number one, guys. So if you've been here before, you know this is not your average wine tasting. We don't sit around and we don't talk about vineyard history and Pierre walking his dog through the grapes and all of that sort of stuff, and types of soil and all of that boring stuff. We just talk about what it is, what it's like, what it's similar to that you might have had before, and how you can find wines like it if you enjoy it. And that's the thing. Is like, if I know I like this wine, how can I make sure I find more wines like it? If you've been here before, you know what the answer to that is already probably, but if you're new, you're going to hear me talk about lots of different things, but mostly about weather. I do love to talk about a bit of weather. So let's talk about this wine first, then we'll come on to weather later. But the first wine tonight is a Vermentino. Vermentino is the grape. This one is from Sicily. Zagari is the name, from Sicily. That's the wrong slide, Dan. Here we go. It's got all the tech in the world.
All going wrong. Falling at the first hurdle.
Okay.
In case you haven't been here before, this is the first time in this new setup. We're testing a few things out, and it's gone wrong already. But there we go. Sam, back to you.
Okay, so this is Vermentino from Sicily. Vermentino is the grape. If you love Sauvignon Blanc, then this should be right in your wheelhouse. What do I mean by that? Well, Sauvignon Blanc has certain things about it that we love. It's high in acid. What's high in acid mean? Well, it means it's racy and zippy and zingy and refreshing. Acidity in wine is the factor that makes wine refreshing. Even if it's a red wine, acidity is what makes it refreshing. So acidity happens in lots of different wines in lots of different levels. It's all to do with weather. So Vermentino has got plenty of acidity, just like Sauvignon Blanc, so it's refreshing and zippy. But Vermentino as well does enjoy the warmer climates. We're talking about Sicily here. And what that means is that the fruitiness of the wine develops as well. So Sauvignon Blanc sort of straddles that line between high acid and refreshing and fruity very, very well. Think about countries like New Zealand or Chilean Sauvignon Blanc, places like that. Sauvignon Blanc's really good at that. Vermentino is the same. So if you're into that sort of thing, then this is a wine for you. What am I talking about when I'm talking about fruitiness and country and the weather and the climate? Well, basically, as you may have heard me say before, in a cooler climate, the acidity in wines are very, very high. So if you think, say, like northern France or Germany or Austria, where it's nice and cold, well, cooler, then acidity in grapes stays very high. And that's because acidity happens naturally in grapes, but sugar does not. The sugar comes with ripening. It comes from the sunshine, from the heat, from the weather. If we move into warmer climates, when there gets more sunshine and more weather, the sugar in the grape goes up because it gets riper and the acidity comes down. And so when I talk about the fruitiness of this wine, that's the extra sugar coming through. And we don't mean sweet. We're not talking about sweet wines here. We're just talking about a little bit more sugar to balance with that acidity. So if you like that acidity and that freshness and that zippiness, but you also like it a bit fruity, then you need a bit of sunshine, a bit of warmth, and we'll touch on that when we come to the other white wines and how that comes in. But Vermentino is this one from Sicily. Vermentino as a grape variety originates from Italy, but it actually originates from Sardinia, the other island, mostly. I think like 50% of Vermentino is grown in Sicily. They do it in Sicily, sorry, 50% of Vermentino grows on Sardinia. They do it on Sicily as well. You also will find it in the south of France. And the thing about Vermentino is that it does come in two styles. This is the racy, zippier style, but we also have, for example, a French Vermentino in the store called Passage de Sud, and it's in a much richer style. And that comes from something called Lees aging. We'll talk about that when we get to white wine number 3 because it shares that property as well. It's something that makes white wines rich and full of flavour. But yes, it comes in two styles, Vermentino, usually zippy and fresh or the richer style. This is the zippy fresh style. What do people think?
We're getting a lot of love, So one of the reasons that's great if you can join the Slido and you just take your phone out, slido.com, enter the event code SG Wine Tasting. Is we get to see lots of comments come in. If you've got any questions as we go through as well, like anything, even about the wine, about something Sam said, or as we get towards the end of end of this, fourth or fifth wine, just general questions about life. Feel free to fire them over. A lot of love. What a great start, says Helen and Steve. Kevin Tracy, not usually a fan of this style of wine, but this is lovely.
Good.
Sarah there about the Jamie Oliver books.
I mean, she's got a keen eye to see that there's two Jamies in there. To see that, I suppose, on my shot, it is.
Yeah, it would have been from you.
If you know, you know.
So there we go, we've got a couple of Jamie fans in, and a lot of love for the Saturday Kitchen vibe. That was our muse, wasn't it? It was our inspiration for
a Saturday
we want a Saturday Kitchen, but Friday night. That's the They don't drink an entire bottle of wine on a Saturday morning at 10 a.m.
I've got kids that are 3 years old, so I haven't watched Saturday Kitchen in a long time. CBeebies in our house. I can't remember the last time.
Well, no, this is Saturday Kitchen meets Friday nights in. So wait to see. We've got a bit more. We've got more space to develop. We've got other areas come in. Didn't want to bite off more than we can chew, and clearly I can't even get the slides right. Yeah. So we'll see what happens there. But
keep the questions coming, guys. It doesn't have to be about just this wine. It can be about anything, any wine. It can be any questions, to be honest.
Yeah, any questions.
Not Russia.
Bit dry and light for us, says
Dry
Saints
and
at
light,
Home.
yes. So maybe a little bit too acidic, perhaps. And as we move through the other two wines, then perhaps they'll be more in your wheelhouse. I think. Because somebody else said, not usually our style, so a lot of people
Easy to drink.
Struggle with the high acid white wines. Dan, you're not an acid fan, are you? And that all comes down to balance. It's the balance between acidity and sugar. And when you first started trying white wines, you said to me, no, all too acidic. But actually you found if you find something with a little bit more sugar to it, you tend to enjoy the balance. And that doesn't mean sweet.
Yeah, I mean, it was also that I was drinking really cheap white wine that was battery acid. If you're buying your wine in Home Bargains, it's probably not going to be the greatest.
And in the sale bin.
Yeah. Well, I used to enjoy a froglet. Do you remember froglets? Have you ever bought a froglet in your life?
I don't even know what that is.
So Home Bargains, if anyone else has ever seen these, they used to sell a 4-pack of froglets, and it was a plastic wine glass with a foil top, and you would peel it off and just drink it, ready to serve.
Amazing.
But I mean, where do you think the inspiration?
Now I know.
No, you don't. No, you know. It was like, where did you come up with the idea?
There's a reason you call those the Capri Sun of
adult
wine.
Capri Suns. These are my Capri Suns, yeah. So, right, wine number 1, get it poured, get it finished. We don't stand around on ceremony. We're moving on to number 2. I know. Well, I'm trying to facilitate an event here, Sam. Right, number 2, wine 2, yellow label, Wine number 2. We've got some love for the chickpea snacks. Do you know what? I bought those. I bought those about 2 or 3 months ago when our usual cheese supply had ran out and I needed something next day. And I'm not disappointed. They're really good.
That doesn't mean theirs are 2 or 3 months old, does it?
No. I bought them. I bought them a few months ago.
Yeah.
Yes, as in for the first time, and I've bought them ever since. No, you all have fresh snacks. Do not panic. Utter freshness. Right, number 2. What we're saying. Let's see. Any questions? No, nothing's coming in there. Remember, you can also use the YouTube chat as well. The more questions you ask, the slower we go between the wines. So, it gives you a bit of a chance to
silent.
Yeah, no questions. We just want to rock through it.
Do you want to get that down here so I can pour you this one?
Yeah, no need to change glasses. Just keep one for the whites. You can use the same one for the reds if you want. We're using 2, but don't feel the need to use any more than that.
I'll tell you what we forgot to say is that if anybody's forgotten to get their reds out of the fridge, you ought to get them out now.
Very
and if you have forgotten, they're still in the fridge, you might want to bang them on top of a radiator or something.
These are the red wines with the green labels, okay? So make sure if you've not taken them out of the fridge, because everyone followed the instruction and put all their wines in the fridge, I'm sure.
Yep.
Take the reds out of the fridge, put them near the radiator, get them warmed up. Can you please tell us the price of the wines? Yes. Absolutely, we will. It is in the email.
It is.
And we could probably tell you as we go. We probably could include that on the slides, I guess.
Yeah, we should have included it on the slides, really.
Well, it wouldn't have helped you because I showed the wrong slide.
Yeah, we didn't even get to see them.
No.
I'm going to struggle to remember, I'm going to be honest with you. I've got a rough idea.
I'm not. I'm going to tell you now before we go on. Here we go. Virtual. That's not what I wanted to do, actually. Here we go. So there's a Gary Vermentino. That first one we drank, that's a $9.99.
$9.99, which is pretty much average for us, isn't it?
Yeah. That's our kind of standard price point. So yeah, there we go. The Zagari Vermentino, wine number 1, that's $9.99 on Smash Grapes. You will be sent the link to all of these as we go through as well.
And don't forget, you've got your £10 voucher.
Exactly, got your £10. So you get that one free. Get that one free.
Bottle.
There you go. Right, number 2, what have we got? Great camera switching. There we go. We love a cold red. Is that bad? No, it's not. It's not bad.
No, not at all. We'll talk about that when we get to
right,
reds.
Number 2, people are starting to drink now. A little bit sweeter, right up my street. Prefer wine too. Very pale. Right, there we go.
You're going to put the word board up?
I am.
Sorry, I don't want to rush you.
You're rushing me, Sam.
I'm sorry.
You're rushing me. Right, here we go. Same drill as last time. We're going to ask you what you're tasting. Get white wine number 2 poured in the glasses. Let's see what we're thinking. Let's see. Honey bitter. I'm sure I've drank that before.
Honey bitter.
Preferred number 1, peach. Yeah. Okay. Well, it's all about a game of preference, isn't it? Buttery. Yeah. Okay. Buttery. Bitter, butter, limes, honey, peach, pale. Party in my mouth.
Party in my mouth.
Yeah. Like that. Limes. Fresher, gooseberry, fresh. Preferred number 1, preferred number 2. I mean, this is number 2, so here we go. Richer than 1, metallic.
People are going wild in there now.
Yeah, we are. We're going crazy in here tonight. Right, nice. Let's have a little look. So, fresh, fruity. Yeah, it's all coming out. As I say, keep those words coming in. Definitely. We actually had these wines swapped the other way around when we did an event last week.
Yeah.
And just before we started making these pouches up, we decided to change it up, didn't we?
Yeah.
Because wine is one of those things, one of the only things you've got to go up the body. You can't be going down on wine. And so we made an executive decision to switch. Was it the right decision, Sam?
Yeah, I think so. So getting technical for a second, as Dan says, we're supposed to go up the body. That means we start with the light ones and work our way up to the big boys. That means that nobody overpowers the previous one, and so we can enjoy it a bit more. Technically speaking, the wine that we're now drinking, pouch number 2, is from probably a cooler climate, and it's definitely a lighter ABV because I can see it in front of me. It's a lighter alcohol, so it should be a lighter wine, but now this speaks to the brilliance of the winemakers, and we'll come to that in a minute. It tastes richer, there's no doubt about it. So they've sort of overcome the weather, and we'll talk about that with them as well. So before I reveal what it is, excuse me.
I may have already revealed it.
Have you?
No, last time, because the slide was wrong.
Oh,
just before anyone jumps in and tries to catch me.
It doesn't matter. But basically, generally with a try before you buy, we pick 6 wines that we're almost certain you won't have tried before, new things. But occasionally, when we just spot something that is an awesome example of something we all know really well, then we have to put it in, and we have to put it in the store, and that's absolutely fine as well. I love lots of the mainstream wines that are out there, your Merlots, your Chardonnays, your Sauv Blancs, your Shirazes, and all. I love all of that stuff. And so there's nothing wrong with drinking that. We are about trying new things, but excuse me, we're basically just about trying great wine. So that is why that wine number 2 is in fact a Sauvignon Blanc from Chile. Pretty straightforward stuff. Sauvignon Blanc from Chile. Indomitor is the winemaker, Nostros Sauvignon Blanc Reserva. Why did we pick this Chilean Sauvignon Blanc, which sounds like fairly standard fare? Well, Indomitor are a fantastic winemaker. Fantastic. They are doing incredible things in the world of wine. Chile, in fact, is doing incredible things in the world of wine generally. So let's touch on that for a second. So weather, back to weather. The influence of weather on a flavour of a wine is so important. Let's focus on the white wines for a second, that acidity versus sugar balance. We start in the cool climates and you have high acid. As it gets warmer, we get more sugar and the wines get richer. Now, for most countries in the world, or most regions in the world, especially the old world, like France and Spain and Italy, that weather is pretty consistent and is the same year on year on year, which means that the wines from those areas are fixed. They're always going to be the same. And what do I mean by that? I mean that the wines from northern Italy will always taste the way they taste, and that the wines from southern France will always taste the way they taste. In comes Chile. And actually what they have is a winemaking region that's very, very close to the equator. So they've got all the heat and the sunshine that they could possibly need. They're also exposed to the Pacific Ocean, which actually has currents that come up from the Antarctic as well. So they're very cooling, the winds that come up from the Antarctic. If anybody's watched any nature programs, you'll see that you can get penguins in southern Chile that have come up from the Antarctic. But not only that, and this is the most important thing, that what Chile has is mountains. And mountains are like a dial for winemakers. What do I mean by that? Well, they basically go, what do we want to make today, guys? We want to make a nice cool climate Sauvignon Blanc, high in acidity and racy and zippy. Pop it further up the mountain, higher altitude, the vines I mean, and it will stay cooler. What do we want to make this year, guys? Oh, we want to make a big, rich, bold Chardonnay that's full of tropical fruit flavours and is really big and competes with, say, Australian Chardonnay. No problem. We put it further down the mountain and we grow the vines further down the mountain where it's warmer. They literally have a dial they can turn. For any grape variety they like, for any style of wine, they can turn this dial with altitude to create the wine they want. And that's what makes Chile a fantastic winemaking region. Indomitor, these guys are cutting edge. They've got this beautiful, it's a shame we haven't got a picture, this beautiful winery and restaurant built into the side of the mountain overlooking the cliffs. Super eco, and what's really cool about these guys as well is that they make a massive effort to employ all the locals to make the wine. The wine industry is kind of built on foreign labour and imported labour, and there's nothing wrong with that, but what it tends to mean is there's exploitation. And one of the things that's really important to us at Smash Grapes is that we source our wines from places that aren't exploiting their labour force. When you go out to the supermarket and you grab a bottle of £5 wine, that's fine, because at the end of the day, it's all about what you can afford. But the reality is that after the tax and the VAT and the fixed prices, the tax on a bottle of wine is duty. The duty on a bottle of wine is just £2.30 plus the taxes and stuff. About 31p goes to the winemaker for a £5 bottle of wine. The result in that is exploitation of workforce. And so what we try to do at Smash Grapes is work with wineries that are not buying into that thing. And it means we have to pay more, and ultimately it means you have to pay more. But hopefully that translates in the flavour of the bottle, the flavour of the wine in the bottle, as well as the ethics that are surrounding it.
So there's a lot of comments coming in, a few questions. I say, if you've got a question about the wine as it comes up, I've got no issue jumping in and interrupting him.
Please do.
Feel free to throw them in. A couple of comments just on YouTube. Roger says, this one's not for them, but their Carmenere is amazing. They've had...
the Chilean Carmenere, yeah, fantastic.
A couple of comments about Chilean questions. Is this region better for white, red, or both? But I think you kind of mentioned the fact they've got every climate they could possibly want.
Yeah. I mean, I do love Chilean reds. I probably drink Chilean reds more than I do Chilean whites, but that's just me. They are fantastic at both. Really fantastic at both.
Lovely to be Toronto. Big fan of 2. A lot of fans of 2. And then obviously just coming back to that one before about we don't mind a cold red. Is that bad? No, absolutely not. Certain red wines you can have cold. Possibly wine 1 tonight. You could
for sure.
You could serve chill. Red wine 1.
Yep,
you could keep a bit of chill in it if you want. 2 and 3 not so much. They're not the kind of wines that you would want chilled. So make sure those get a bit of warmth through them.
Yeah, chilling a wine, whether it's white or red. Having any drink cold, in fact, it's the same like if you grab a beer, having it cold mutes the flavours. It makes the flavours, less powerful in the mouth. So, for example, if you want to drink a white wine and it is feeling a bit too acidic, then get it colder. That's one of the first tips I gave Dan when he was trying more high acid white wines. I said just get them really bloody cold, and you can enjoy the wine without that acidity being too powerful. With red wine, it's the same. It mutes the flavours, which when you've got big, bold red wines, makes them not have a lot going on at all. So that's why, as Dan said, you wouldn't want to do it for some of our bigger reds tonight. But the lighter reds are naturally high in acid because acidity, still occurs in red wine to make it refreshing, and the same rules apply. You could pop them in the fridge and they'd be enjoyable.
Right, so before we... don't feel like you need to wait for us, by the way. Get number 3 poured in your glasses. Just make sure number 2's out of it. Get 3 going. Another question came in while we're on wine 2. This one leaves a longer taste in my mouth compared to wine 1. A bit like tannins. Is there a reason for this?
A bit like tannins. Okay, so there's 2 things there. Length. Length is like a wine word. It's a bit of a bullshit wine word, to be honest, length, but it means how long the flavour lingers on for. Some wines the flavour lingers on for lots of time, and some wines it doesn't. Can you judge a wine entirely by that? No, it's just a part of it, isn't it? So there's no scientific reason really to sum up why some wines last longer in the palate than others. For sure, tannin helps to do that, and that's present only in red wines, and we'll talk about that when we get to red wines. In white wine, why do I think this one has got more length? Probably a little bit more sugar. It's had a bit more sunshine than the Vermentino, which is mad because Sicily is pretty hot, centre of the Mediterranean, but this Sauvignon Blanc has probably been taken about to the edge of what Sauvignon Blanc will tolerate in terms of sunshine, and that's got a little bit more residual sugar in there, balances out the acidity nicely, makes it last in the mouth longer. And just to reassure you when I'm talking about sugar, actually it's not particularly reassuring because it makes you realise how unhealthy it is. Even the driest of white wines have still got sugar in, so when we talk about sugar in wines, we're not talking about sweet wines at all. There's plenty of sugar in there, and we need it to balance out the acidity, otherwise it would taste like battery acid. Probably, before we go on to wine number 3, we should probably acknowledge, not the elephant in the room, but the famous elephant in the room, which is New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc.
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc, super popular at the moment, super trendy. What do they do well? Well, New Zealand has got a climate kind of like Chile, where they've got this amazing amount of sunshine and warmth, but it actually stays pretty cool and temperate, like medium throughout the year, which means that Sauvignon Blanc can develop more sugars but main acidity at the same time, and so you get lots of tropical fruit flavours, but you still get that nice refreshingness. However, Dan, things aren't good, are they, on the New Zealand front?
No, things are certainly not good if you are a New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc drinker. So I mean, has anyone, I know there's a lot going on in the world right now, but anyone remember that little thing called COVID?
It's cancelled, isn't it? It's finished.
Yeah, finished. Ended yesterday.
Last season.
Yes, yeah, last year's news. Well, during COVID, New Zealand took a zero tolerance policy with their borders, shut their borders down, and as Sam mentioned before, one of the things that makes chili wineries great is that they use local workforce. In New Zealand, they didn't have enough foreign labour to come in and pick all of the grapes. So what little grapes they were able to harvest and produce wine from will become very expensive, and it's probably going to take them 2 or 3 years, I think, to get back to really a level that they'll be producing on the scale they do right now. So if you solely drink New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc, now is the time to find something else.
Prices, we've already seen prices go up.
Yeah,
I mean,
massively.
we don't buy it from our supplier, but we have seen the price increase, and it was drastic. I'm glad we don't buy it because the price has gone up drastically. During COVID, grapes in New Zealand literally rotted on the vine. They just died on the vine because they didn't have anyone to pick them, and so not only have they got to recover from that, but they've obviously already charged a premium. So I think we will still see
great alternatives we can suggest. Chilean Sauvignon Blanc, like we just tried. Romanian Sauvignon Blanc.
Oh yeah, Umbrella.
The Umbrella, it's cheap as well. It's a bargain. It's like, is it £8? £8.99. Yeah, it's a fantastic example. If you've not drank any Romanian wine before, hold your horses because you're in for a treat. Right, so get number 3 poured out. I've already launched the poll. Some of the questions. Some thoughts are coming in. What have we got? So far? Let's see. Where are we? Summer. Banana.
Defo banana.
Dessert wine texture.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Slightly stronger. Not a strong flavour. Woody. Flowers. Vanilla. Like white wine should taste. A lot of love for banana.
Oh,
banana,
nice.
vanilla, and summer.
It is banana-y. Great.
Yeah,
this is excellent.
A lot of crisp, harsh, soap, syrupy. Nice, not a strong flavour. Crisp, woody. It's all in there. Everything's
all in there. Fantastic.
Yeah. Slight dessert wine taste. Yeah, we're getting a bit of that. We're getting a lot of. So what's going on? Why are we getting such different things here? What's going on with
we're going back to familiar territory. We're talking about the weather first again before we tell you what it is. We've moved into a region that, though on paper perhaps you wouldn't think is as hot as Chile or Sicily, it's very exposed. It's quite desert-like. We're going to the south of France, and we're going to the Pays d'Oc. And the grapes there are very much exposed. They are just grown on very, very flat land and lots of heat and lots of sunshine. And before I tell you what this is, let's talk about that weather a bit more. So, acidity has come down even further. As we've got more heat, sugar has come up. These grapes have got riper. The sugar in them has got larger, higher. And that is why you guys are saying things like syrupy or dessert texture, or what else was in there? Dessert wine, Pina colada, great one. The sugar increases the thickness. It's like if you was to put sugar into water, dilute it would make the water taste thicker, wouldn't it? It's the body of the wine. And when we talk about body with wine, that's not just about red wines. We sort of tend to think about red wine as full-bodied, but it's the same for white wine. The body is lots of different things, but sugar in wine increases the body, it increases the thickness. It's like the difference between water and milk, or skimmed milk and full fat. So we've got more sugar in this wine. It's not sweet, and in fact it does a cracking job of holding on to some acidity so that it's refreshing, and it's still got that sort of, I want to drink more nature. The word, by the way, which is I quite like for wines that have lost all of their acidity because the winemaker has not done a good job of getting that balance, is flabby. So if a white wine doesn't have very much acidity and it's got too much sugar and it's not got that nice, refreshing, crisp edge to it anymore, we call it flabby in the industry. Good little word for wine. But yeah, so the grape you are drinking, the wine you are drinking is Viognier. Viognier is the grape. If you've not heard of Viognier, I've not put it on its mark for the wine cam. Hello, there we go, wine cam. Viognier. There we go. So, Viognier, born and bred in the Côte d'Rône. If you've heard of the Côte d'Rône, you might have seen it on a few wine lists in restaurants. You might associate it with red wine. because generally if you see Côte de Rhône on a wine list in a restaurant, it will be a bottle of red, but it's a region. Côte de Rhône is a region, not a particular wine, and they do whites and reds, but mostly reds. They're famous for reds. If you've not heard of Côte de Rhône, you might have heard of its very, very famous little tiny village in the middle of Côte de Rhône called Châteauneuf-du-Pape. And Châteauneuf-du-Pape, excuse me, is one of the many cru villages, cru being like the word in the Côte de Rhône for like the best, villages in the Côte de Rhône region that makes wine. Châteauneuf-du-Pape has its fame and gets all of the kudos and ultimately the big price tags for one reason and one reason only. The Pope lived there. That's what Châteauneuf-du-Pape literally means, Pape, Pope. One of the Italian popes, I don't know which one, decided he was French and he didn't want to live in the Vatican. He wanted to live in his homeland, and so he had a big castle built in a village in the Côte de Rhône and grew some grapes in the garden, you know, because when you've got a garden that's that big, why not? And that is why that region is so sort of infamous and ultimately leads to the high price tag. There are lots of other expensive cru villages in the Côte de Rhône, but ultimately Côte de Rhône as a wine is just a blend of grape varieties. Red Côte de Rhône is a blend of Grenache, Syrah, or Shiraz as you probably know it, and Mourvèdre, which is a sort of a blending red grape that isn't often heard of. White Côte de Rhône is almost always Viognier, and a couple of other things, Roussanne, Marsanne, some other grapes that you only ever see blended. But ultimately, what we're talking about here is just blended grapes. The region or the place, it's just about the kudos and the heritage. We're not in the Côte de Rhône with this wine, we're right down the road, literally a stone's throw in the Pays d'Oc, which is this region in the south of France, which is fantastic for Rhône varieties. So if you do like a Côte de Rhône, if you like a Châteauneuf-du-Pape, and you want a red wine that's got all of the similar styles but not the price tag, Pays d'Oc is a great way to go, and Viognier for the whites from the Pays d'Oc is a fantastic way to go as well.
Couple of questions that have come in. Do snacks affect your taste buds to the wine? Do the snacks? Why do we purposefully choose the snacks we choose?
We've not just put the snacks in because we want to, you know, ease the drunkenness.
I mean, they're not. The portion size would not ease the drunkenness.
No, that's true. That's true. It's salt, guys. Salt. When people talk about food and wine pairing, what makes food and wine great? Why is food and wine great? The first thing to talk about is salt. Salt makes wine taste great. It brings out the acidity in white wines, so they're more refreshing. It brings out the fruit generally in all wines, so they taste fruitier. Salt is fantastic for wine, so putting some snacks in straight away just enhances everything you're doing. And even like when we go to professional tastings where we've got to taste a load of wines, I know it's a tough job to supply in the store. Even at those places, they'll like put like salted crisps out just for the, like to help your palate and to make the wines taste better. They're a good reset as well. Like, you know, if you're drinking lots of different wines and it's starting to all taste a bit the same, bit of salted crisps or snacks sort of resets your palate. So that's why salt is really good. There's lots of other elements to food that make wine taste better. Maybe we'll get into that with the reds, but yeah, snacks, it's all about salt, guys. Kind of like why they give you salty snacks at the pub with beer.
Stupid question. There are no such things as stupid questions. That's the whole thing
Definitely
of a Smash
not.
Grapes wine tasting. You can ask whatever question you want, whether you think it's stupid or not. It says vegan. Are all wines not vegan?
No, they're not. Nope. But actually, excuse me, actually we're getting towards that way. So just like beer, wine is filtered or fined. Fined is the word. You're probably more familiar with that word from the beer world, fined. And that's basically once the yeast has done its job of turning the sugars into alcohol, it dies and it's sat there in the wine. And that actually brings me on to something about the Viognier that I forgot to mention. We'll do that in a sec. It's filtered out and it needs to be filtered out with something. Now, traditionally, it was filtered out with something called isinglass, which again is used in the brewing industry, and that's made from fish scales, or I don't know what the technical name, but there's an eggshell equivalent. And
albumin or something like that.
Albumin or something like that, yeah. So those would be wouldn't be vegan because they are animal products. However, there are vegetable equivalents that do the job now, and actually pretty much everybody is switching to them, not because they want to be making the vegans happy, but just they're cheaper and easier to use as well. So the whole industry is moving in that direction. But if you are a devout vegan, or if it is really important to you that you don't consume anything that's had animal products, it's still worth checking nowadays, because there are maybe a bit more traditional wineries that haven't quite moved yet, or haven't maybe got the technology in-house yet to switch, will still be using fish-based or eggshell-based products. And one second, the Viognier, I forgot to mention, we talked about lees aging when we were talking about the two types of Vermentino. Lees aging, what the hell is that? That's when we leave the yeast in a bit. So before we do that filtering process, we leave it in to float around for a bit. We stir it up every now and again over a course of a couple of weeks. Certain types of Vermentino have it. This Viognier has it. And what that creates, and loads of you picked up on that in the taste wall, which is why I wanted to mention it, it creates dairy flavours, creaminess, milkiness, vanilla-y, rich flavours. The leaving in of the yeast for a while before you filter it off creates that rich, buttery style flavour in wine. That's what that's from.
Yeah, and we got a bit of a burnt taste. Wood, was it barrelled or casked? I don't know if that's...
So I don't think this has got any oak aging, but I'm going to check because I don't know for sure. Well done to the person who picked that up. Barrel fermentation. So it's not been oak aged. So what am I talking about there? There are two ways to get woody, oaky flavours into wine. One is whilst the fermentation is happening, and so that's whilst the yeast is turning sugar into alcohol. You could mostly choose to do it in a steel container, that's what everybody does, but if you want to get some woody flavours in, you could do it in an actual wooden barrel. If you don't do it at the fermentation stage, you can age in an oak barrel, and that's where once the process is over, you stick it in an oak barrel for some time afterwards. So well done to the person who picked that up, because it's quite subtle. And what I was talking about with the lees aging, the leaving in of the yeast, it's those two flavours they blur a little bit. So you know that rich dairy flavour from the lees aging, and then the oaky flavours, the woody flavours from the fermentation, kind of blend a bit. And yeah, well done to the person who picked that up.
We've got a bit of love in the chat for the toaster as well.
Oh yeah,
yeah, a lovely toaster there behind Sam. He's turning to the can't see. And what do we had an agriturismo. I can't say that. Agriturismo meal in Sardinia. They served us with a chilled red. It was beautiful.
Agriturismo. I mean, is that something to do with on the farm?
Probably.
My Italian's not that good.
No.
But if you've been to Sardinia, I'm extremely jealous because I've heard it's amazing. And yeah, chilled red. Why not? Why not? You know, if it was a nice, a light lunch or something like that. Chilled red would be lovely, because ultimately when we're drinking red wine we tend to think of like being all cozy and stuff, don't we? But there's no reason why a red wine can't be like refreshing, but you might want to have a little bit of chill on it to do that.
Very good. Bernie's asked if we're planning on having toast at the end. Obviously
no.
The loaf.
Don't worry, Bernie, it won't go to waste. We know you won't like to see it go to waste. He'll have it for sandwiches.
Was it higher alcohol content than the first two?
It was
13 and a half, wasn't it?
13, yeah, it was 13, and so the Sauvignon was 12 and a half, so the Sauvignon really stood its own, I think, in terms of richness. The Vermentino was 13 as well, so it was on the same plane, but I think what you get from the Viognier is that the richness from the lees aging, the grape itself. That's the other thing I didn't mention. Viognier has a very thick skin. It needs a thick skin to cope in the heat and the warmth. So generally, grapes that can tolerate more heat will have thicker skin, and that also makes for a richer flavour or fuller bodied. So it's an interesting theory, actually. It'd be good to know what people thought was their favourite. Pop that in the Slido, guys. What was your favourite of the three?
Yeah, let us know. I think there's a lot of love for number two.
Was there?
There's been a lot of love for two, yeah. So let us know in Slido or use YouTube, do whatever. Let us know which your favourite was. I haven't got a poll queued up ready to ask, which one was your favourite. I don't think. Let's have a quick look. I mean, maybe I have. Maybe I have. No, I haven't. But I'll tell you what we'll do. Before we move on to the reds, now don't feel like you have to wait for us. You can just go ahead and open red wine number 1. Remember, that is going to be the green labelled here. So the green label, this is the red wine number 1. Get that out, get it poured in your glass, start drinking away. But until then, what I'd like to ask you, I've just loaded it up on Slido, is what's your favourite grape type of red wine? You know, let's talk for a couple of minutes before we go into the reds in earnest. We're doing well for time.
Are we flying?
No, we're doing good. We generally try and opt for about 15 minutes a glass, which is rapid. It is rapid.
That is quite fast.
And we've just finished 45 minutes glass 3, so you know we're good. What have we got?
Favorite grape or time? Generally, guys. Not tonight.
Number
what
2.
Do you buy? You can name brands as well. That's cool.
Brands
that's perfectly fine.
Yep.
Whatever you go for.
Malbec, Carmenere, French, Rioja, Shiraz, Zinfandel, Rioja, French. Yeah, okay, nice. Keep them coming, keep it flying in. So we've got a range of stuff here. Let's have a look. Oh, so it was on a farm. They produced their own wine. So yeah, they must have done it all there. Yeah, looking at this, number 2, couple of fans of 3. 3 had more about it. Yeah, I get that. 3 got better with every sip. Yeah. Oh, it's come in. It's come in. You asked people to name brands. I really enjoyed Gary Barlow white wine.
Oh, not Barlow.
What do you think about celebrity wines, Sam?
Well, you know, I haven't tried Barlow's wine, so I can't write it off. Actually, do you know what? I'm not gonna do the opposite of write it off. His wines are from La Mancha in Spain, and we love La Mancha in Spain, so we can't knock the wines at all. La Mancha is this region right in the middle of Spain. It actually gets generally in the wine world, it gets a bad reputation as being the sort of like the not very great place to get wine compared to say like Rioja, which gets all of the love for none of the right reasons. La Mancha is a fantastic region. It does wines that are equally as good, if not better, than Rioja. So his wines are from La Mancha. I know that for a fact, and so that's great. The thing about celebrity wines is, excuse me, the funny thing is that most of them, like Kylie and Barlow, and I can't think who else, but you know, Graham Norton, all of those, they're actually all from the same importer. That I think they're called Benchmark Wines. They're called, that literally import these wines and then go out and find a celebrity to stick on the front of the label or market it. And the whole sort of the idea that celebrity's been out to source the wine themselves is insanity, that they don't do that. I'm sure we can get that. The problem is like the price you end up paying for it, and that's really important to us. When we buy a wine from our producers and when we sell it to you, ultimately we're a business, and of course we make some money, absolutely, but we also make sure that the producer gets paid fairly as well, because at the end of the day, wine is a farmed product, just like eggs or meat or vegetables, and we're all very passionate about making sure we've got our red tractor assured or our free range eggs and all of that sort of stuff. But when it comes to wine, we're sort of just happy to like just pay something and get it without really knowing. Traceability is really, really important. And so to come back to the celebrity thing, when you've got like a celebrity's name which hikes the price tag, that's not necessarily making sure that the person that made it is getting the best price for it. So listen, I don't know the wine, I've not tried it. He has sourced it from a cracking region, La Mancha, which you'll hear us sing tons of praise about. I know that Kylie gets all of hers from Provence, which you will hear us not sing loads of praise about, because Provence is really stuck up and there's tons of better options if you want great rosé. But for Barlow, not tried the wines, but yeah, you could go to La Mancha with us, or in fact you could go to La Mancha at Aldi and probably get better value for money.
Yeah. Caught me mid-sip there, sorry. Can you see supermarkets moving to Capri-Sun packaging, or do you think bottles will stay? Bottles will 100% stay.
I mean, if they do move to it, they can come to us to buy it.
Any supermarket buyers out there that may be watching that are thinking, we could sell that, let's have a chat. So bottles will stay. Bottles will stay. What you will probably see a lot more, and you'll see a lot of people talking about, is actually importing the wine in a tanker and then bottling it here in the UK. So you might see bottles in the UK.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that. And there's a few people who look down their nose at it.
It's better for the environment.
Yeah, it's a much lower carbon footprint than shipping all of that glass in containers across the sea. You can fit that in a tanker. So that you'll see a lot of that. One thing at the minute as well you might find is actually they're somewhat phasing out little bottles, but it's not because people don't want to buy little bottles. There's I'm sure you've seen on the news about like the blood tests for the NHS and things like that. There's a global shortage of glass and the ability to make glass. So little bottles are just, they're gone. Like, you might get your little mini Prosecco's, but little bottles of wine are becoming less frequent.
You're going to see more canned. And canned wine is great. It's expensive at the moment. That's why we don't sell it. Canned wine is great, but it's good for the environment. There's nothing wrong with the quality. The great thing about canned wine is the thing about glass is that the wine can be affected by light strike, by sunlight, and so you don't have that with canned, but it is expensive at the moment. Alternative formats in any shape or form. Bag in box, got no problem with it.
Some love for Schofield's bagged wine.
Oh yeah, he's had a tough time with that, I heard.
Yeah.
He's not reached the sales targets they'd hoped.
Not hit it,
no. Go on, let's everybody support Scof. I love Scof. Get out there and buy his wine, poor guy. He probably needs to buy another house or something.
Probably.
But yeah, nothing wrong with bag in box. Alternative formats are great. They're good for the environment. There's absolutely nothing wrong with the wine at all. If it's sourced from the right place and we're paying the right price for it. But us pouches offer loads of flexibility as well. At the moment, you guys have got 6 125ml pouches, so six glass pouches. That makes a bottle. We've got the ability to do 300s and 500s coming down the pipeline.
We can go up to a litre.
We can go up to a litre. So we want to expand the pouch range. It is great for the environment. It is far more recyclable. It's easier to ship. Just the saving on carbon alone by shipping the packaging to us and then to you is absolutely huge. We think it's got tons of flexibility for use, at festivals and picnics and parties and all that sort of thing. So we're big on the pouch at the moment. We're big on the pouch, and there's going to be lots more.
Apparently,
to come.
Most Wanted do a Capri Sun style.
Most Wanted.
We'll have to take a look at that. And J&B want us to add a straw. Wine on the go. I mean, it's got a spout. You can drink it straight out of the spout.
I think a straw's a great idea.
We could look to do a straw.
Botham's the other guy that has.
Botham or Barlow. Sam has to choose.
Definitely Botham. But Benchmark are the wine. It's the same wines, just different names.
Why does Vina Sol taste lovely in Spain, but not great if bought in the UK? I mean, is that a brand? Is it?
I don't know. I mean, Vina Sol just means obviously wine of the sun. So I'm imagining in Spain it's. I don't know.
The village wine, probably.
Yeah, it's probably just like the local village wine. In Spain, they have a thing, and France as well. Southern France, into the border over Spain, they have a thing called field blends, which we have lots of. If you search field blends on the site, you'll find a couple. Field blends is like the old school way of growing wine, which is, I'm not worried about whether my grapes are Sauvignon Blanc or Chardonnay, or if we're talking about Spain, whether they're Tempranillo or Garnacha. My great-great-great-grandfather planted them, and I haven't checked with anybody since, and they're just growing, and we just harvest them. Now, the beauty of that is that if you think like when you go to the garden centre, if you're a bit of a gardener, and you think about roses or rose bushes, the garden centre will tell you like this rose is good in the sunlight and this rose is good in the shade, or this one is okay in a pot but this one needs to be planted in the ground. Grapes are the same. That's literally, they're all the same species, but they have Sauvignon Blanc and Chardonnay and whatever have different needs. And so if you actually have a field that's grown with a mixture, complete randomized mixture, and it has been like that for several generations, what that means is like if the weather changes that year, if it's a bit colder or they have a bit of frost, or winds come in. Some will not do very well, but others will do well, and it's like an insurance policy for that year. And so therefore you can like guarantee that whatever happens, we'll have something to harvest. And so field blends are the ancient way of growing, but actually make complete commercial sense that you can every year produce great wines. So field blends are fantastic for that, and I imagine that's what that Vina Sol is. If you just grow a single grape variety that particularly likes cool climate or particularly likes heat, and then you don't get that, what that results in is a bad harvest and price changes and stuff like that, or the inability to stock the shelves. Now, what Vina Sol is in the supermarkets, I don't know. It's probably just a brand, and that's a different thing altogether. But that's the difference between like drinking wine in the country and then drinking wine at the supermarket.
Yep. Right, so a couple of comments coming in on red wine 1. So get it in the glass, get having a drink. One came in, wife just tried number 1, face like she'd sucked on a lemon.
Oh dear.
Oh dear. But you know, you're in the right territory. We are in a high acid red wine here. So yeah, get it softer than the colour suggests. Spicy, light, Spanish. We have coming in here.
Somebody's put the cards on the table.
Someone has put their cards right out there. There's a few other questions coming in, so we will come back to those. Chateau Box, yeah, winemakers say it's the best way to keep it, the boxed wine. What we're doing here, this is essentially what is inside a cardboard box.
Yeah, it's the same.
So what they do for bag-in-box is they don't like the look of this, so they build a cardboard box around it, and this sticks out the side. This is exactly what we're doing. So yeah, it's the same method to keep the wine stored and fresh. And we've got a machine coming, hopefully in about 8 weeks' time, that's going to do it under gas, going to give really good shelf life, going to mean you can, if we've got a bigger pouch, if we step up to the 500 litres, rather than a screw cap, it'll have like a bit of a tap that you can just pour bits out as you want, and yeah, it will keep for a lot longer as well.
People underestimate how much light can affect a wine. That's why bag-in-box is great, or our pouches. Light really can. Like if you get wine at home, even if you've literally got it that week from the supermarket, and it's like on the window ledge or or close to the kitchen window or the patio doors, it really can affect the wine. It will change the flavour. So just be careful of that.
Right, so, number 1, Sam, what's going on?
Okay.
Wine on the spot, please.
Oh, sorry, I've not been putting the wine on the marker.
Not been doing your job.
Sorry,
come on.
There it is, it's on there.
There you
go. Okay, so red wine number 1. Same rules apply here, guys. The weather is the most important thing, and acidity and sugar are what we're talking about. So with white wine, we had high acid, low sugar, made those zippy, racy, citrusy style whites, and then as the acidity came down, sugar went up, we moved into more tropical fruits. You guys were saying banana from the last one. I mean, that's right up there, isn't it, in terms of sweet tropical fruit flavors. More heat, more sugar, you get that tropical fruit. What happens with red wine? The same sort of thing, slightly different flavors. Cool climate red wines with higher acid, lower sugar. We start off in those tart sort of red fruit flavors. The red sort of fruits that you could imagine are higher in acid. Cranberry, red currants, raspberry, maybe slightly moving into strawberry, those higher acid flavors. But then as the acidity comes down and sugar goes up, when the weather changes and we move into hotter climates, as we introduce the sugar, we move into more plummy, sort of purpley fruit territory. And as we get into the really hot countries, we might move into blackcurrant and blueberry. And then when we go really, really hot, and we've got a few coming later, we're talking about those jammy, cooked fruit flavor. So once again, weather is really, really important. But before I tell you what this white,
we've had a flavour suggestion of a warm hug.
A warm hug.
Warm hug.
Oh,
nice flavour, quite dry, licorice, raisins.
Raisins.
Blackcurrant smell. Yeah, definitely get the blackcurrant smell. I'd like to, when we launch these for the next 2, I quite like that it tastes like a warm hug. I'd like your best descriptive. Your best descriptive, non-flavour descriptor, please, for the wines 2 and 3 when we move on. So yeah, sorry, Sam.
No, absolutely fine. So yeah, before we talk about what this wine is, the other thing I want to mention is, why is weather so important? Well, we tend to get stuck in a rut as wine drinkers of talking about the grape that we love. Oh, I only drink Shiraz. Oh, I hate Chardonnay. I'm a Merlot fan. Or we get stuck talking about a country, or I only drink French, or I wouldn't touch Chilean or something like that. If you want to explore great wine, guys, and you want to have the most enjoyable time you can with wine, you need to cast those things aside and literally just think about weather. Weather is the only important thing. Sauvignon Blanc will taste different depending on the weather it's grown in. Chardonnay, I know, will taste different depending on the weather it's grown in. Whether it's grown in a colder country or a hotter country, it will taste different. Chardonnay is brilliant actually. It will produce wine that tastes completely different depending on where it's grown and the weather. It really is so sensitive to the weather. So if you haven't found a Chardonnay you love, you've just not found the right Chardonnay. And it's the same for lots of different grape varieties. You've got to explore the weathers and the climates before you can write a grape off or write a country off, because even a country will have different climates. Even France has different climates, from the north in the Champagne area right down. We go through Burgundy, then Bordeaux, then Languedoc. Much more different weather, and it will change the flavour of the wine. So don't write wines off just based on country or grape, especially not grape. Because it is all about the weather. Okay, red wine number 1. We are at Pinot Noir. Pinot Noir is the grape variety. Super well known. Pinot Noir is the lightest red grape that you're going to find out there. What do I mean by that? It's super thin skinned. So it generally only does well in the cooler to moderate climates. What does that mean? It means we're talking high acid, of course, less sugar. We're in those tartar fruit flavours. But the thing about red wines is we're now also talking about tannin. What's tannin? Well, it's that bitterness, that astringency that we get in red wine. It's the thing that makes your gums dry out. That's what tannin is. It's also the thing that the doctors say is good for you. So don't write off tannin altogether if you're not a fan. But yeah, tannin. And now tannin comes from the skin of wines. Always from the skin. That's why white wines don't have any tannin, because white wines have no skin contact. The grapes are crushed, the juice is pulled off, the skin is thrown away, and then the juice is turned into wine. Now with red, because we want the colour from the skin is left in, so we get all of that colour, but we also get the tannin. Now, pulling it back to weather, the cooler climate grapes can have thinner skins because they don't need to shield off the sun, and therefore they have less tannin. The hotter climate grapes, the grapes that are doing well in the heat of, say, Australia, like Shiraz, have thicker skins to deal with that heat, and therefore they get more tannin. So now all of a sudden, not only can we use the weather to decide what the fruit flavour of our wine is going to be like. Is it going to be raspberry, or is it going to be cooked plum? And not only can we use it to work out whether it's going to be light and refreshing or big and juicy, but we can also use that to work out what the tannin is going to be like, because the tannin is generally lower in that colder climate and higher in the hotter climate. So Pinot Noir, cool climate variety, thin skins, very, very light, low in tannin, and that makes it very easy drinking. Yeah, we've got a question there. I'm still struggling. I'm still struggling to find a red I like. What's a good place to start? Well, I suppose it would be understanding why you don't like reds, yeah. but this is kind of an entry-level red. If for whatever reason, this is probably entry. Pinot Noir is a good entry. If you're struggling with red, it's generally tannin. It's generally the bitterness of tannin. And so you want low tannin grape varieties. Pinot Noir is a great one. I've not said where this one is from yet, but like Chilean Pinot Noir, low in tannin, super fruity, fantastic. If you don't want to go Pinot Noir, Frappato is a very low tannin grape variety as well.
We've had one of them before.
Is a very low tannin. But you want to look for cool climate reds that are in a colder country. If you're not into your red wines, there is no point going for Argentinian Malbec or Australian Shiraz. These are the hottest skins of wine growing territory, and as a result, the tannin is quite high, the body is quite high. These are beasts.
Another good place to start for finding a red wine you like is doing a few more of these.
Absolutely.
Just try a glass, and then you've not committed to a full bottle.
Variety, don't we?
We do try and have a variety. Right, so let's crack on. We've got a few more questions, but we'll come on to those as we go. No, exactly. So where are we in the world right now?
We're in Romania. I forgot to say. I got carried away. So, Umbrelei in Romania. Umbrelei are massive favourite at Smash Grapes. Massive favourite. Cannot talk highly of them enough. We did the Sauvignon Blanc, as Dan was alluding to earlier, at a tasting last week, like an in-person tasting at a bar. It's so good. What do they have? Well, the thing about Romania is the weather, here we go again, is very, very similar to France. In fact, it's almost identical to France. The one thing that they don't have, which France have, is a coastline. Romania only has a tiny, tiny bit of coastline, and that's miles away from where they grow the grapes. What's that got to do with things? Well, coastline is what makes weather inconsistent, because, storms and whatever can blow in, but if you're landlocked, weather tends to stay the same, and that drives the price of the wine down because there's consistency. French wine is very much reliant on the weather, and that weather can change because of the fact that there's a huge amount of coastline, so the price will go up and down. But with Romania, it remains consistent. The other big factor, and I can't talk highly of this enough, they're making the wine in state-of-the-art wineries. This isn't rustic in any way. These guys are at the top of their game. Everything about the way they make the wine is cutting edge, but what they also don't have is land cost, and that's a really important factor, isn't it?
Yeah. I think we were talking about this last week. A hectare of land, so that you don't even need to know how much a hectare is, because actually in space, but a hectare of land in Romania is about 60 grand in euros. To just go into France, you're probably looking at 600, and to be in one of the named regions, your Bordeaux, Burgundy, probably 6 million. And that's just for the land, before you've put a shovel in, before you've planted anything, before you've hired anyone to pick it. So before you've done anything, your wine has already got to be 100 times more expensive because of the land it's grown on.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So that's what you're paying for. It's a farmed product. You've got to cover the farmer's bills, and in Romania, we're talking a tenth of the cost for wine that's made with the same grapes, because they do grow Romanian varietals, and we love them too. But they grow Pinot Noir, they grow Chardonnay, they grow Sauvignon Blanc, they grow Merlot. And they grow them in the same way, in the same climates, in the state-of-the-art wineries. Umbrelei is owned by an English chap who moved out there, married a Romanian woman. It was very, very hands-on. They are now the biggest producer in the country, exporting all over the world. Fantastic winery. Can't speak highly of them enough. If you're only going to buy one thing from us at Smash Grapes, buy Umbrelei. It's amazing. The Umbrelei Pinot Grigio Rosé is probably our best-selling wine, I think, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah, the Romanian Pinot Grigio Rosé.
Certainly last summer.
Absolutely. It's a proper patio wine. That it's everyone knows. Oh, a good Italian Pinot Blush. That's lovely in the sunshine. If you're enjoying this evening and you're like, oh yeah, go on, I'll give these lads a chance. Buy a couple of bottles of Umbrelei. I like the Shiraz, the Umbrelei Syrah. Yeah. It's really nice. And then, the Pinot Grigio Rosé. We literally can't keep it on the shelf. It is good stuff. Right. Get Wine 2 poured out. We've taken a bit of time there on Wine 1, but that's good. That's good. We've got lots of questions. See, they get a couple of wines in them. They get a bit lubed up. Suddenly, the questions, we can't keep up.
Questions are coming in.
We are gonna catch up with the questions. Don't worry. But for now, number 2, red wine 2. So we're getting towards the end now. Remember, it is the green pouch, wine 2 in the green pouch. If you haven't taken a little picture of yourself, sat in front of your TV with your wine glass, with your snacks, snap a quick photo, put it on Instagram or Facebook. Remember to tag us at Smash Grapes UK and use the hashtag TBYB. Would love to see a few more pictures in that reel. And obviously you can win a case of all the wines you're trying tonight. No purchase necessary. Keep that £10 voucher for a future purchase. You can win. We are going to give away 6 bottles of wine just for putting a picture online. So that's all you got to do. Remember, it's got to be a post. Don't do a story. It's got to be a post. got to have at Smash Grapes UK tagged in it and the hashtag TBYB. Right, number 2, red 2. Right, here we go. What? Oh yeah, God, I'm still drinking. There's me. Right, while I'm just finishing this off, it's come in. Cork or screw cap?
Hey. Love a bit of cork or screw
Go
cap.
on then.
We've only got one corked wine tonight. Just one. Not corked, but has a cork in it.
Yeah, one bottle with a cork enclosure.
The good old cork versus screw cap question. It happens every week, every month, and we love it. What's the purpose of a cork or a screw cap? Well, it's to stop air, or more importantly, oxygen getting into the wine. Oxygen is the enemy of wine. Get a bit of oxygen in your wine, and after a while or two, it will start to taste like vinegar. That's the fact. So the seal, that's what we're talking about here, is just to stop that happening. A screw cap is like, I can't remember the percentage, but it's like 99.99% effective. A cork is not so much. A cork is less effective. A cork is actually, a natural cork is designed to actually let a little bit of oxygen in. And that's the idea, because of the idea that we want those sort of expensive wines that we put away in the cellar to age and take some oxygen on and change in flavour. Nobody buys wine like that anymore, not unless you're ridiculously rich and just not of this world. Most of the wine we want to drink it now, and we want it to taste as good as possible, and that means that it needs to be sealed nice and tight, and when we crack it open, to be as fresh as possible. Therefore, ultimately a screw cap is better, but they both do the same job. If you find a bottle of wine that's using cork nowadays, and it's in the supermarket, and it's at a price that is, in your area, the reason that they're probably still putting a cork in is twofold. Either they've not transferred their technology, they've still got the machine, and they're paying for the machine still, so they need to carry on using it. Or they want to create an illusion of heritage, an illusion of something a bit more sophisticated than it actually is. Screw cap does everything you need, and there's absolutely no reason to be a snob about it.
Very good. And someone just asked, where in Romania was that wine from? It's from the Banat region.
Banat,
pretty much any of the wines we get from Romania are all from Banat.
Yeah,
it's the main area, isn't it?
Romania is kind of, if you imagine Romania like that, it's in the top, the coast is down here, and it's in the top corner up here of the country. It's quite concentrated. There's not much of the country that grows wine. It is right in that top landlocked area with the rest of Europe.
So red 2, what are you tasting? Let's see what's going on here. Get it poured out. Get it in the glass. There's me playing slowpoke. Need to finish one off. Right. So let's see. Get that back on the spot. Jammy, smoky, red velvet, honey, Christmas. Tastes smooth then sharp. Plum. Honey, jammy, red velvet. I'm waiting for these lovely
Who's got
the best
better than a warm hug?
A warm hug, yeah. Who's got a better? I mean, I know it's got a taste of whatever you're explaining. Chinese. We had someone commented that it smelt Chinese. Is that?
Do you know what I'm getting? Like
mince pies.
Yeah, maybe. Do you get the Chinese thing?
Fireside tipple.
Maybe like sweet and sour pork.
Yeah. I think it's the sweetness.
Which I think would be a good pairing for this wine.
I think it's the sweetness, isn't it?
Yeah.
So this is a wine you could have with a bit of sweet and sour from the Chinese.
Yeah, I reckon so. It's got that sort of MSG. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Yeah, MSG.
Kind of
thing
vibe.
to it.
Easy drinking. Wine gums. Nice. Black brick. Okay. Cool. Right. Another comment there. We thought you'd moved on to 2 ages ago. We're already on it.
We don't know where we are.
Yeah, exactly. There we go. Let's have a look. Tannins, yes. A couple of other questions to go on to. So yeah, before we keep drinking, before we come on to it, is it true that cheap wines give you hangovers?
Yes, that is absolutely true. We generally get the other question, which is Does red wine give a hangover?
We've also got the question of what is it about some wines that give you a stonking hangover?
There we go. Is it tannin? Is it sulfites? My mum in particular struggles. She thinks with sulfites, but I've been trying to explain that to her. Sulfites occur in almost all wines. Sulfites. So basically, let's rewind a little bit. So wine. All wines from any country can legally have 120 chemicals added to them without them going on the label. They don't have to label those chemicals in any shape or form. The only one that legally needs to be on the label, because it's an allergen, like peanuts or shellfish, is sulfites. And so sulfites, as a result, sort of get like vilified as, oh, that must be the thing that's making me terrible. But unless you're one of the very, very rare few that have an actual allergy to it, then they mean you no harm. And in fact, actually, you can find sulfites far more abundant in things like dark chocolate, dried fruit, anything that's had a skin, because it comes from the skin, so that's why dried fruit and dark chocolate. But sulfites generally are vilified as the thing that must have made me feel terribly ill, but it's not, unless you've got unless you're that 1% that genuinely has an allergy, like peanut allergy, then you don't have to worry about it. The problem is the 120 chemicals that don't have to be labelled. Well, what the hell are they? Well, most of them, I think almost all of them, are sugars or acids. They are chemical sugars and acids.
Yeah, we say that it's like refined powdered sugars, the kind of stuff you get on the outside of Haribo that makes it fizzy or sharp.
Exactly.
Or they add that malic acid and things like that.
Yeah, all of those sorts of things, the things you'll find in Haribos and that sort of thing. The reason that we find those in wines is because when we go to big branded, mass-produced, cheap wines, they're not produced by a farmer, by a producer that cares for his crops and understands the weather of the region that he's operating in. They're just produced en masse. Let's just get them grown, get them picked, and get them in the barrel. And what, as a result, happens is they get them grown, they get them picked, and they get them in the barrel, and they squeeze them, and they taste the juice, and they think, oh shit, there's no acidity, or it's not going to be refreshing enough, we need to add acid. Or they think, oh crap, we've harvested too early, there's not enough sugar, it's going to be too acidic, it's going to be like battery acid. And in goes the powders, and in goes the balancing act, and eventually it just becomes a chemical formula to balance. And that's the problem when you buy big brand, is that they're producing on such a scale that it's no longer about the farmer and about understanding the weather and looking out in the morning and thinking, oh, should I harvest my grapes tomorrow? Or maybe I'll leave it a week. That's gone out the window. It's about machines harvesting mass amounts just on the same day of the year all the time. And that's when the powders and the sugars are going. And that's when you get bad heads, to get back to the answer of the question. Me and Dan recently did an experiment. We started buying a lot of the most popular branded sort of white wines because we wanted to work out what is it about these really famous brands that people are enjoying. And so I went out and I bought some of the most popular brands. And do you know what? They're tasty. They are tasty. They are really tasty.
When you're drinking them, there's nothing wrong with them. You're knocking them back and it's,
And the next morning, Christ, And I was like, there's something not right here. Like, I didn't have that much compared to normal. You've tried them and you feel the effects. And it's sugar and it's acid and it's powdered and artificial. And that's the problem. Whereas with wines that are not grown at that scale, that are grown by a proper producer, none of that is necessary because they work out the acidity-sugar balance whilst the grapes are still in the field. So I think the question was about hangovers.
It was. So the long and short is, yes, cheaper wines generally do give you worse hangovers because they have to put powdered additives in because they're mass harvesting the wines rather than dealing with it on the vine. So that's the pithy answer. Right, before we go on to 2, there's a lot of love for 2.
Good.
There's been a lot of love for 2. A few comments. One last quick answer to this one.
All right, okay, I'll try.
Does aeration really improve the taste of reds?
Yes, it does. getting a bit of air into your wine opens up the flavors. It generally is more effective on wines that have been in the bottle for longer. So if the bottle says like 2020 on it, don't worry about it. If it's 2016 on it because it's been put, it was put in that bottle a while ago, and we'll get onto that another day, then yes, give it a bit of aeration. But aeration is not this.
There's nothing, no.
That's not aeration.
Opening the bottle to let it breathe is not a thing.
No, that's not a thing. Only a tiny amount of air can get in there and touch this wine. That is not aeration. Aeration is pouring it out, and that's the point of decanters. There's one here that looks quite nice, but it can be anything. Grab a water jug, grab a Pyrex jug, grab a bucket for a weak air. Aeration is just pouring it out of the bottle, and that will get the air through it and bring it to life. And it just brings the flavours to life, because if the flavours have been in the bottle for a long time, they become muted. So yeah, aeration is a thing. You can buy like devices, can't you, that you stick on top. But yeah, don't feel like you've got to buy something fancy. It generally, when we go to tastings and we're showing a wine that's been in the bottle for a while, maybe it's a 2016 or something like that, I'll ask the guys behind the bar if you've got a water jug, and I'll pour it into the water jug, and then I'll pour it back into the bottle. That does the job very, very nicely.
Right, wine 2. What's going on? Where are we? What's going different?
Yes. Okay, wine number 2 is from Italy.
Yes.
It's from Italy. And do you know what? We've got 3 red wines. We started off light. We started with Pinot Noir from Romania. It's fairly light grape variety, very light grape variety from a moderate climate. We could have put a middle ground in if we were sensible. But does it look like we're sensible? We could have put something in like a Merlot from southern France, or we could have done a Tempranillo from Spain. Tempranillo, by the way, is the main grape variety that's used in Rioja. So Rioja is just a region. It's not a grape variety. Rioja is a place, not a grape. But the main grape variety is Rioja. It's a very good middle grape. What do I mean by middle? Well, when we're talking about that acidity-sugar balance, it's in the middle. When we're talking about that tannin level, it's in the middle. We could have put a middle ground in, but for some crazy reason, we just decided to go, no, let's finish off with 2 absolute beasts.
Sam says for some crazy reason. Sam is entirely responsible for picking all of these, so it's entirely his crazy reason.
It's my fault. I just don't like medium wines.
Doesn't like the middle ground.
Let's go all the way.
Yeah.
So we have jumped with the last 2 wines. We've jumped to the end of the spectrum, and we've got to the hottest part of Italy. Puglia is in the south of Italy. Super, super hot, very exposed, and the grape varieties there are built to deal with it. A particular grape variety is Primitivo. Primitivo is the grape. Probably not heard of it. It's kind of like the signature grape of the region of Puglia. It loves the heat. It's got big, thick skins, can deal with the exposed heat, and we are now into jammy territory. And some people said jammy. I'm glad to see it. Jammy territory. What do we mean by that?
I'm just going to step in here a second. I've just realised how evenly you've sliced that loaf. That was an entire single loaf. Look how evenly you sliced that loaf. I've just seen some more comments about toast, and I've just thought,
hey,
you've done well there. You've sliced that well.
Listen, culinary background like mine.
I'm picking up on what the people are seeing.
It's very nice of you to say.
Back to Puglia. Tell us more about Puglia.
Bernie's still worried about us getting through all
Worried about that toast.
You'll get through that, won't you?
I'll have a go on that, yeah. Love a bit of white bread. You don't get a body like mine not enjoying a bit of white bread. Right, where are we? Sorry, back in the room.
Puglia, Primitivo, super, super hot, and we're in jam territory. If you like wines that have got the word jam written on the side, this is for you. What the hell am I talking about? Those fruit flavours that when we were talking about the Pinot Noir were tart and red have moved down into purple territory. They've moved down past purple territory, and they're now super hot, and they're cooked, and they're jammy, and they're rich, and they're sweet. Yes, there's tons of sugar in this wine. It makes it sweeter in flavour, and that's essential. It doesn't make it a sweet wine like dessert wine, because it's packed full of bitter tannins as well. Remember, it's got those thick skins to deal with the sun, and you need the sweetness to balance it out. Otherwise, it would just be too bitter. A great example of that is Barolo. Barolo is a very famous Italian red wine from the north. It is very thick-skinned and bitter, but it doesn't get the sunshine. It's super bitter. In Primitivo, you get full-bodied, thick-skinned red wines that offer loads of richness, but the jamminess comes in from the sun, and that's what makes this just delicious. It's one of my favourite grape varieties from one of my favourite regions, Puglia. It's a peasant region in Italy. You know, it's not got any kudos like Chianti or anything like that, or anywhere in Tuscany. It's got no reputation. Puglia is a fantastic region for big, rich red wines. And if you tend to buy branded wines with jam written on the side, this is going to knock your socks off.
The first question that came in was, they're not having that. They're saying it's a sliced loaf from Lidl. It's no, it's 100%. It was a whole loaf from Aldi.
Lidl?
Yeah, there's no Lidl here. There's no Lidl. Not where we are anyway. Right. So does an aerator help then? Yes. So you can get a little aerator that you put in the top of the bottle when we're talking about reds. Gives it, as you pour it, it basically just glugs it. Put a bit of air in. What you can do if you don't want to buy an aerator, they are very cheap off Amazon. Is when you're pouring into your glass, don't be shy. Give it a proper glug, and that glug will whip a bit of air in as well. Yeah. Is there a difference between a whiskey and a wine decanter? I'm not entirely sure about.
Don't know what a whiskey. I mean,
well, whiskey decanter is just like a crystal decanter. It's not so much about the decanter itself. You see a lot of shapes, and you see a lot of these waiters where they pour it and they whip it like this, and it's not the shape. It's actually getting the liquid out of the bottle into something else that puts the air in. So. Yeah. No difference between a whiskey and a wine decanter. Just glug it in either way. Are all big brands bad and to be avoided? I mean, that's a sweeping statement, but
I don't know if we can legally make it.
I don't think we can. We can't legally make that. All we can legally tell you is the facts that, as Sam said at the start, duty on wine is fixed, £2.33 a bottle at the moment. And that ends up at about 31p on the juice inside. Mm-hmm. So any brands that can afford TV adverts, Formula One sponsorships, lots of print branding in supermarkets, to sponsor the tennis, things like that, that is less money that's going on the liquid inside, and the way to get less spent on the liquid inside is to use mass methods, additives, that kind of stuff. So, before I get cease and desist letters through the post, I can't make a sweeping statement that big brands are all bad and should be avoided, but the methods used to become a big brand would mean that the wine is lower quality.
Yeah, and what's worth saying as well is that we're not saying don't buy cheaper wine. Like, a great example is, we're Aldi lovers. We love a bit of Aldi, the two of us. We shop in Aldi, and I actually think the buyers at Aldi are fantastic for wine. They've got a fantastic range, and if you apply some of the rules, not the rules, but some of the ideas that we talk about tonight, like look for alternative regions like Romania, or look for or Puglia in Italy, alternative grape varieties like Primitivo or Vermentino. You take those to Aldi, you're going to get wines and you're going to get great results because they're actually buying really, really well. And they're using some of the same knowledge, that we are, because why wouldn't they? So it's not about like, don't buy cheap, because we love a bargain too. We absolutely love a bargain. It's more about brand.
Yeah, it's brand. And if you're going to buy cheap, there's nothing wrong with buying a £6 bottle of wine, but buy something that was originally £8 and not down, because then the retailer has taken the margin on it. Don't buy a recommended retail price of £5-6. That is where you hit that margin. And ultimately, I'll tell you what I've seen recently as well. Here is a tip. Here's a tip for you. Okay. Non-smash grapes related tip, right? We've got a chat widget on the website. You can send us messages. You can get in touch with us on Facebook all the time. Someone sent us a message. They were in Home Bargains, and they'd seen a bottle and recognised that it said Nera d'Avola on it, and said, "Is this any good?" And it was called Sorso, S-O-R-S-O, and it was a Morrison's own label wine, Nera d'Avola from Sicily. And clearly, what had happened is that a lot of people don't buy Sicilian wine because they don't know that it's good, and we stock a lot of it, love it, and Morrison's have given it to Home Bargains to sell it. So it was dirt cheap in Home Bargains, but it was a Morrison's. It's Sicilian Nera d'Avola. Great find. But what will happen there is they'll sell it and that's it. It won't come back.
Yeah.
So you get discounts. There's nothing wrong with bargains and discounts, but it's got to be the right one.
Yeah. Nera d'Avola is a great shout actually for discount. If you're going to buy cheap, buy Nera d'Avola because Sicilians are selling it cheap.
Right. Number 2. It was. We're getting Loafgate here. We are getting Loafgate.
I want before and afters. I'm going to take the cards to Aldi. It was cut before buying. #Loafgate. Look. We are but pawns here to just have a fun evening.
I cut that bread myself.
No, right. You're going to upset him now. Don't upset him. We've got another wine to do. Get number 3.
How many years of culinary experience?
Yeah.
To get.
Wine number 3. It's the last one of the night.
Did you do a close up of that
number
one?
3.
I don't remember. Did you do a close up?
Yeah, I did. Well, he was rabbiting on about nothing.
I don't know what's going on.
Number 3. Wine 3. Get it poured. Here we go. Friday night drinks. It's 9 o'clock. We're on time.
Hey, we're on to the 14.5%.
Yes. Before, I was going to ask you what things you're tasting. Sam's already just told you. This is a 14.5%, guys. Respect the pour is all I'm going to say. Respect the pour. But if you're not getting a little bit squiffy on a Friday night, why not? Why not? What am I doing? What else are you doing? What else are you doing that's better with your time? Right, what are you tasting here before we go into any detail on number 3? Really want to know, when we're asking you now what you tasted, I'd love you to give us a bit of a comparison against number 2. Yes. What do you think's different to number 2 with this one? Let's see where warming, cherry jam. We're getting a lot of vibes. A real beetle bonnet. Beetle bonnet. I'm not sure what that is. I think Sam's just ran off. I hope Sam's turned his microphone off because Sam's just ran off to the bathroom. Best one yet. Woody. Warming. Thicker. Yeah. Sam's left. Sam's gone. He's gone. Cheers. Yeah. Thicker. Yes. It definitely. Really fruity smell. What have we got? Berry. Woody. Really fruity smell. Thicker. Best so far. Yeah, nice. Warming. A real beetle bonnet. I'm not sure. That's a thick. You see, obviously you can't see all the words there. You can see them if I bring them on screen. But jam, thicker, fruitier. They're all up there. A lot of love for those. So yeah. What do we think it's thicker, jammier, legs? Yes. Legs, here's one for you. Here's one from the non-wine guide. Legs means one thing. It's, when you're tipping your glass or if you're swirling it or whatever, it's the little teardrops on the outside that cling. They're the legs. So that means it's leggy. It's got, and that means one thing only. It means how much sugar is in it. The more sugar a wine has, the grippier it will be on the glass. So, your dessert wines, your sweet sherries, they're going to cling to it. The more alcohol in a wine generally is a sign of how much sugar's in there because sugar means alcohol. So yeah, this is leggier. Congratulations. There we go. Have you turned your mic back on?
Yeah. Did they notice I went to the loo?
They did because I had the shot on and I told them. Oh. So yeah. Sam's back. He's back now. He's washed his hands. Don't worry. Right. A warm duvet on a cold night. We've had there. Christmas. Delicious. Big
loads
boy.
Of feedback for this one.
Yeah, loads.
What the hell's a beetle bonnet?
Oh, you missed this. Really don't like these jammy reds. Now, you're not a jammy red fan.
I'm not a jammy red fan.
You're not a jammy red fan, but it's very much in trend right now.
It is in trend. I'm not a jammy red fan. I like my wine with a bit of grip. That's what we call it. Grip is tannin. It's that idea that it's like drying out your gums. And you can kind of tell if you're a person who likes a bit of grip, like if you like how you like your coffee. So I like my coffee black because black coffee has a lot of tannin as well. If you're a black coffee drinker, you might be thinking the same as me. Oh, I'm not totally, into this. It's a bit too sweet. So it's all down to taste. But why are we drinking this wine? Let me remember. Oh yeah. So the last one we had Primitivo from Puglia sort of brings us quite nicely onto this one, and they're a pair, and the reason why Dan wanted you to try and sort of remember how they compare, but I think there's a lot of favoritism for the second one, is they are the same, and the same wine. What the hell are you going on about, Sam? Well, Primitivo, the grape that we were talking about for the last one, Primitivo from Italy, is Zinfandel. The Americans call it Zinfandel, the Italians call it Primitivo. They are one and the same. They're not a different species or version or substrate. They are the same thing. It's just names. The Americans call it Zinfandel and the Italians call it Primitivo. Zinfandel, we've all heard of that. It makes rosé. It makes cheap rosé. Dear me, Echo Falls. We can talk about that, can't we?
Yeah.
He had a bit of a reputation back in the day for smashing back a few bottles.
Knocked a bit of that. Gallo, you were more of a Gallo. You were Julio Gallo.
Which is American.
Yeah, I know, but we were doing Echo Falls in the.
I said Echo Falls.
Yeah, you said it. Yeah, you said Echo. He's half cut, this lad. No, the Julio Gallo, Echo Falls. You used to be able to get them in the Yateses, $4.95 a bottle, over a bar. Those were the days.
Those were the days.
Let's change out of a $5 for a bottle.
Christ almighty.
Anyone from the Northwest who's been to Liverpool, Yates's, Concert Square, $4.95 a bottle, Echo Falls. Used to have it on a tap as well.
Good times.
Good times. Very good times.
Anyway. So it's used to make cheap rosé, but the reality is it's a fantastic red grape variety. It's the red grape variety of California. Californian wine, just to touch on it briefly, it's a bit expensive because it's got to come over here from America, and there's all sorts of sanctions and blah, 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 blah. They make fantastic Chardonnay. They make fantastic Pinot Noir. They make fantastic Cabernet Sauvignon. They do all sorts of other things very, very well. Zinfandel is kind of their signature. The Zinfandel tends to come from the hottest parts of California, very much inland, away from the coast. There's a desert area called Lodi, L-O-D-I, Lodi, which makes a lot of the Zinfandel, and that is where you're going to get those super jammy wines, your 19 Crimes and all of that sort of stuff from that region. If you enjoy this type of wine, great, that's totally cool. Don't pay a Snoop Dogg's face, buy it from somebody else, from a Californian winery like the one that we've got in front of you. There it is, like the one we've got in front of you. Or if you want to pay even less for the same experience, grab yourself Primitivo from Italy. But yeah, we love a Californian wine. We're not knocking it, but the problem with Californian wine is something that we've already talked about tonight because you guys have already asked the question. It's brand. A lot of the Californian wine that we get over here is heavily branded and heavily embedded in marketing and all that sort of cost. But actually, if you go to a half-decent wine merchant or online wine store, you can get great Californian wine without all of that stuff, and enjoy those flavours. And it's fantastic.
What are our thoughts on Jammy Roo?
Jammy Roo. Australian.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna go somewhere else for jammy wines, then you're gonna go to Australia because, of course, that's super, super hot. Australian Shiraz is where we're talking about here. Australian Shiraz, Australian Cabernet Sauvignon Blanc, super rich jammy wines. Again, you can buy the brand and you can enjoy it, and that's totally cool. But your head might not be totally great, and it might not totally be totally great for the winemaker. In fact, there's all sorts of complications when it comes to buying big brands from Australia, when it comes to the way that they treat the water cycle in Australia, the environment, and all sorts of things. There are tons of independent growers. In fact, we're going to a tasting next week, aren't we, Dan? In London, we're going to be trying some new and exciting wines from a supplier, and those guys are doing some fantastic things in Australia that aren't destroying the environment in Australia, destroying the Murray River and that sort of thing. Yeah, big brands, generally aren't doing great things for the country that they're involved in or the environment. So it's a tough one. I don't know the wine, so I can't write it off and say it doesn't taste great. It probably tastes great.
It's a complete sugar fest. I've had Jammy Roo, Jam Shed, those things like that. Yeah, it's a complete sugar fest. So yeah, you're going to have a thick head because you're going to be able to sink, you know, unashamedly in my case, 2.5 even bottles of that stuff. Because it is that moreish, but then the next day, you're
gonna know it.
You're gonna know. You are going to know. Right, has number 3 hit any oak?
No, I don't think so. I think it's oak free.
That's number 2, Sam.
That's number 2.
There you go.
There's number 3. I don't think so. No.
We're not sure. We don't think so. No, no oaking. No oaking has been described.
There might be a spiciness, you know, that comes through. From the fact that it's so concentrated, but no wood.
Supermarket owned brands. Are they worth a shout or same as celebrity brands?
Depends where they come from. For example, picked up a Sainsbury's Carmenere from Chile. Fantastic, because Carmenere from Chile is amazing. It's like Merlot on steroids. It's a great variety people don't generally know, and therefore it delivers. It 100% delivers. I imagine if I was to buy a French Merlot from Sainsbury's, I wouldn't get the same value for money, so be very wary of that. Interestingly, supermarkets reach out to people like us. They genuinely do. So, for example, we have a chap who works in the wholesale sector of our business. So he sells our wines to restaurants and bars and stuff. Supermarkets reach out to him regularly to say, can you find us a fantastic example of Chilean Carmenere to put on the supermarket shelf? And he'll go out and find them and link them up with a great winemaker. And that wine, you know, he's done it for people like Audi and that sort of thing. And it'll be a great partnership, and I'll be like, 100%, I will tell you, go and buy that wine because it's great. But then there are also, you know, things like French Merlot, well, they'll just buy the cheapest available, and it's not particularly great because they know it will sell.
What have we got? Any countries that make notoriously terrible wine that should be avoided?
No, 100% not. If you can make wine, to make wine, you need the weather, right? You know, it's a crop. It's something that you need the right weather to grow. If they're growing it regularly and commercially, that means they've got the weather, because otherwise it would make no sense. It would make no sense to do it. So no, basically not. We've tried wine from the Lebanon, fantastic. Romania, fantastic. Georgia, fantastic. Don't write off any country at all. I can't think of a single country that I would say.
No, there's obviously, as you kind of said, it comes down to the weather and whether you like high acid or high sugar, and picking the right style of wine
for you, yeah.
for you from that particular country. Like, you might not like. I mean, and obviously it's hard to say that for a whole country, but you know, a lot of people say, I don't like French red wine. But what it generally means is that they don't like cooler climate red wine, so they prefer to drink reds from Australia and Chile or wherever, you know. And it's not necessarily France; it's the weather.
It's the weather.
I mean, some of it, to be fair, some of the time it probably is the French. Let's be clear here. But yeah, you know, let's
don't write off any
Holland.
I mean,
I've never had any Dutch wine.
I mean, that's really cold climate.
Yeah.
I mean, that's English territory, and we can cross a few T's here. You know, English wine. The problem is obviously that it's cold.
Yep.
It's cold, so cool climate varietals do very well. So we're good at producing sparkling wine because that needs to be high
Question
acid.
here, well, I've just come across a wine from Enfield. First reaction to that question.
Oh, there we go. So English wine or any cool country wine, let's bag Holland in there as well. You know, we're talking really, really high acid because it's cold. So we need high acid to make sparkling wine. We'll cross that another day, but you need high acid to make sparkling wine. So that's good. High acid white wines generally from the UK or colder climates, like Holland or something like that, good. But richer white wines or red wines, I'm yet to be convinced, because we just don't get the weather. We don't get the sunshine and the heat. We don't get enough ripeness. We don't get enough sugar. The wines aren't that tasty.
Yeah, we've not found a red as yet from England that we're happy with. And one of the things, you know, it's one of those kind of like marketing gimmicks that everyone touts and whatever else. Look, you're gonna say, oh, Crimea River, Dan, Crimea River. Every wine that we sell, we genuinely believe people are going to enjoy. So if you buy a bottle of wine from us and you don't enjoy it, we'll give you the money back in wine tokens. It's called our Good Wine Guarantee. So we do, unfortunately, have to try everything that, before we put it in the shop. And we've been trying quite a bit of English stuff recently, and the reds just haven't. I quite like Pinot Noir, and I like it because I can drink a lot of it. But yeah, it's just not there yet. There's Penny Meunier, isn't there? Well, what else
Pinot
do we?
Meunier.
Yeah, what else do we grow?
Pinot Noir, Pinot Meunier. Yeah. There's a couple of other varietals
we grow in England
that we grow in the UK that do quite well. Yeah, you know, it inevitably it will change with climate change. That's the fact. The hotter it gets, the more we'll be able to grow those riper grape varieties. But yeah, for now, stick with sparkling, stick with dry whites for UK. But even then, land cost means that they are expensive. They are expensive.
Yeah, and labour.
Labour.
You know, we've got a very strong workforce here. So yeah, labour costs are always going to be high. If you had to pick a country, what would it be? Says Shez. I know this is slightly, you always say, when we do a pick your favourite wine, you always get out of it. But I think country, you got to pick a country, I think. You had to pick a country. If you could only drink that country. I've heard you make an answer to this before at tastings.
I can't remember what I said. So.
Well, generally, you've said in the past, if you had to pick a country, you would pick Italy. Because there's about 4,000
Italy have got the best variety, yeah. The thing about Italy is that I could start trying all the wines now and I would never have any chance of trying them all before I was dead. You know, because there is just so much. So yeah, you're probably right.
Pickled before you've made it to the finish line.
I'll be pickled before I made it to the end. Italy, there's so much. It's such a shame that we condense Italy into like Pinot Grigio, Chianti, and you know Barolo, and a few Prosecco. Could I find tricky? It depends on what For me, wine. It depends on what I want it for, what the occasion is. Is it a glug fest or is it something smarter or anything like that? It really does depend, and that's the thing about wine. Just try not to pigeonhole yourself, guys.
Someone's just said about Greek wine. Greek wine's not great. I disagree. Definitely disagree. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've had some horrible examples of Greek wine, but technically, if I go by, it got to be a different country. It's its own. It participates in Eurovision on its own. North Macedonia do a wine called Mavrodaphne. Didn't realise it was a dessert wine. Poured a large glass. They poach pears in it.
Nice.
It is a very sweet dessert style wine, Mavrodaphne. But no, I mean I got married in Cyprus to my wife, not us. I got married in Cyprus in September, and we were drinking a lot of
great
native
Cypriot wine,
native stuff.
But Greece as well has fantastic, Assyrtiko.
Assyrtiko,
kind of like the Greek Sauvignon Blanc, very very nice. They've got some great.
Yeah,
and they've got the climate.
It's that thing of. This is one of the reasons why Sicilian wine that we kind of touched on before. I know we've not had any Sicilians tonight, but Sicilian wine is on the up because the weather is almost too good for growing wine. So they make a lot of cooking, or they have historically made a lot of cooking wine because grapes actually need to struggle to get any like really robust flavors, and in perfect weather, it's hard for them to struggle. So, but the Sicilian wine's on the up. I think Greek wine will be really on the up.
It'll be mainstream.
Areas off the map like Romania that you would suggest. Some of that stuff we had from the Lebanon was fantastic. Lebanese wine. Really good, we should probably get that back in. Really, that's you just would never think to buy it from there. Have you ever come across German reds?
Yep.
Yeah.
Spätburgunder, which is just Pinot Noir, but it's the German name. So if we're talking cool climate here in Germany. So the reds are cool climate reds. So they're going to be Pinot Noir. They have a couple of other varietals, but generally it's in that area. They're going to be light. They're going to be, for you guys that aren't into your red wines, they're going to be light in tannin, which is quite nice. They're going to be that more tart fruit flavour, like raspberry or cranberry or that sort of thing. But yeah, German reds are great. If you're looking for a refreshing, chillable red wine that is good for a party and that sort of thing, 100%.
What was the one we got in recently to try? It's Zweitgelt.
That's Austrian.
Austrian,
yes.
Yeah.
Well, not too dissimilar. So Austria, again, another cool climate wine region, make fantastic white wine, but Zweitgelt is their red grape of choice. And again, very similar, very tart, red fruit flavours, but low tannin, very easy drinking, and yeah, great for entry-level red wine drinking.
Helen and Steve, their daughter wants to know, and to be fair, this was about an hour ago, so she might be in bed, I don't know. Sorry, Helen and Steve.
Sorry, their daughter.
What's the difference between the grapes we eat and the ones we use for wine?
Yeah, so the grapes that are in the supermarket for us to buy and eat have been bred to have much more flesh and juice and less skin. So, and that's because the flesh and the juice is obviously the sweet, lovely, tasty bit. But a grape in the vineyard, a wine grape, is more skin and less juice, and that's the skin has got that bitterness, the bitterness from tannin, and a whole lot less juice in it. So it takes a lot more of those grapes to make a bottle of wine. But yet they're bred to be sweeter and plumper and far more juicy.
Very good. Right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is wine 1 to 6 for your Smash Grapes Try Before You Buy tasting. I think the email with the 6 wines we've drank tonight in order should be hitting your inboxes in about 9 minutes time.
9 minutes time.
That's if we haven't miscounted for daylight savings.
No, it's definitely
Definitely going to be. So in the next 9 minutes, an email is going to hit you with the 6 wines we've had this evening. Thank you for joining. Hope you've enjoyed our new setup, our new look and feel, the new boxes. This is the start of much bigger things to come with Try Before You Buy. Please do tell your friends. We've made that even easier. So at the bottom of most of the emails you'll receive, not every, but most of them, your refer a friend link will be there. If you tell your friends about Smashed Grapes, they can get a £20 off voucher for their first purchase. £20 off, so essentially they could do this event and just pay the postage, right? That is what you can get when you refer a friend. Once they go on and make their first purchase, we give you a £20 voucher as well as a thank you. We are just wanting to get out there and get everyone drinking good wine. That's wine that's good for the producers, good for the planet, and good for you as customers as well. So we'd love to help you, we'd love you to help us, spread the word of Smashed Grapes. Remember as well, if you've got any photos for tonight, send them on Instagram or Facebook, tag us at Smashed Grapes UK, use the hashtag TBYB. But beyond that, really hope you've had a fantastic evening. We've had fun. It's been great to use it in our new location here. Lots of thank yous. Good. Just cracked open a Shiraz. Nice. Not here next. See you in April. There you go. But that's it. We've got all of the next few dates available online now. So grab yourself your next pack. We're rounding off with this 14.5er. So yeah, if you've got another bottle, crack it open. But for us, good night. Cheers. Thanks a lot. And we'll see you next month. Cheers.
Thanks, guys.